All right, here's our last multiplication only problems that we're going to do. Then we'll do some division and then how you can solve equations with this stuff. So today's goal is to learn to multiply fractions and mixed numbers. Today's date and page number also on your page. And here's your warm-up. You should be able to do these now. Remember, for 3, when you have a whole number, just give it a denominator of 1. That'll be an easy way to get yourself focused. Good luck. Come back when you are done. Here are the answers to your warm-up. You can see for number 2, I actually cross-simplified, and I saw that 4 divided by 4 gives you 1, and 8 divided by 4 gives you 2. So I was able to abbreviate that there. So hopefully you got the same answers, and hopefully yours were all simplified. Let's get into our canoe knowledge today. So one of the things you're going to have to remember to be able to do our work today is how to take a mixed number and turn it into an improper fraction. If you forgot, you might want to copy this little thing down for you. Remember that you always multiply the denominator and the whole number, then add that to the numerator, and that gives you your new numerator. Denominator stays the same. So here's a scenario that we could be looking at and how and what we'd be getting. So it says Janice and Carla are making homemade pasta from a recipe that calls for 1.5 cups of flour. They want to make 1/3 of the recipe. So they don't want to make the whole thing, just a third of it. So to find this, you need to do 1/3 of 1 and 1/2. So that means that you're going to multiply the keyword of. That's what we're going to work on today. How do you actually solve these problems? So here's a scenario, 1/4 times 1 and 1/3. This is how we go ahead and solve it. So the first thing you have to do is you have to turn the mixed number into an improper fraction. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that's how we get 4/3. And then from here, you multiply the numerators and you multiply the denominators. 1 times 4 is 4. 4 times 3 is 12. Now, what can you divide 4 and 12 by to simplify it? Well, you do know that 4 goes into 12 and 4 goes into 4. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now, if you remember about cross-simplifying, you would have noticed up here that we both had 4's there. And remember, I told you before, whenever you have 2 of the same number, you automatically make them 1. That would have made the math a lot quicker. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 3 is 3. Either way, you get 1/3. So go ahead and write this down before moving on so you have a good example. And here's another one. So what we have to do first is turn 3.5 into a improper fraction. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. So we have 7/2 times 4/5. Now, we can just go ahead and multiply those right away or look to see if there's any way we can cross-simplify. And you probably notice 7 and 5, there's nothing we can do, but 2 and 4, we can divide both of those by 2. And 2 divided by 2 gives you 1. 4 divided by 2 gives you 2. So now that we've done that, we've already done the simplifying that we need to do. So 7/1 times 2/5. 7 times 2 is 14. And 1 times 5 is 5. Now what do we do to turn this into simplest form? We have to turn it back into a mixed number. So how many times will 5 go into 14? 5 will go into 14 twice. That gives us 10. And when I subtract, I find out our remainder is 4. So remember, 4 as the remainder becomes our numerator, and the denominator stays fifths. So your answer here is 2 and 4/5. So you have to be able to go between mixed number and improper, back and forth to be able to solve these. Here's one more practice for you. So we have 12/13 times 2 and 3/8. So the first thing we have to do is turn 2 and 3/8 into an improper fraction. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 3 is 19/8. Go ahead and write 12/13 next to it, and let's see if there's anything we can simplify. Can we simplify 13 and 19? You're probably saying, well, no, they're both prime numbers. That's correct. But what can we divide 8 and 2 by? You probably know that 4 goes into 8 and 12, so we could divide 8 by 4, and yeah, that goes in twice. And how many times does 4 go into 12? 4 times 3 gives you that. So now we can cross simplify. 19 times 3 will give you 57. And 13 times 2 is going to give you 26. So again, we have to turn this now into a mixed number. So we got to see how many times 26 goes into 57. Well, 26 times 2 gives us 52, so we can do it 2 times. And when we do that, we get a remainder of 5. So it's 2 and 5. Denominator stays 26, 526. So that's how you're able to simplify 12 thirteenths times 2 and 3/8. Again, you can see that our number is going to be right there in between the two. Okay, for your first practice, we have 6 problems up here, but we really only need to try 3. So let's do the bottom 3, 4, 5, and 6. Come back when you are done. And here are the answers you should have gotten for 4, 5, and 6. So again, for 4, I cross-simplified as soon as I could. And I got 8/7. Well, we can't keep that. That's improper. So divide 7 into 8 once with a remainder of 1 over 7. For 5, I got 2/3 times 13/10. I cross-simplified 2 and 10 by dividing both by 2. I got 13/15. And for number 6, I changed 2 and 6/11 to 28/11 times 2/7. 2 and 11 I couldn't simplify, but I did know my multiples of 7. 7 and 28, you can divide both of those by 7, and that's how I was able to simplify that to get 8/11. If you got those right, give yourself a pat on the back. Example 2 time. So what we're going to do here is look at if we had mixed number and mixed number. So it really doesn't change at all what we did previously. You just have to now change 2 mixed numbers to improper fractions. So 1 and 2/3 is changed to 5/3. And 2 and 1/7 is changed to 15/7. So you can multiply across and get 75 on the top and 21 on the bottom and simplify that way. But now that we've been looking at cross-simplifying, do you think we can cross-simplify 5 and 7? Probably we'll say no. But we can cross-simplify 3 and 15 because you can divide both by 3. Now if we do that, you kind of speed up the work a little bit. 3 goes into 15 5 times. So now if we do this work, 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 7 is 7. Now we're still going to come up with the same answer of 3 and 4/7 because we're going to see that 7 goes into 25 3 times. Let's get rid of this. And 7 times 3 is 21. When we subtract, we're left with 4. So again, 4 becomes our new numerator and 7 stays the same. You'll see in either way, you get the same answer. It just speeds it up a little bit by cross-simplifying. So have this down as an example before moving on. So now we have one where we have a whole number, and then we have 4 and 2/5, a mixed number. Remember, for whole numbers, all you have to do to turn it improper is put a 1 as its denominator. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 is 22 over 5. Now, can we simplify this at all? Can we simplify 2 and 5? Nope. And 1 and 22 is really as simple as it can get, especially if it has a 1. So now we just have to go across. 2 times 22 is 44. 1 times 5 is 5. And to simplify, we got to see how many times 5 will go into 44. We know that our answer, if written as a remainder, will have a 5 as a denominator. So 5 goes into 44 8 times. 5 times 4 is 80. And when we subtract, we're left over with 4, which becomes our numerator. So 8 and 4/5. The biggest thing to remember is what to do when you have a whole number. You just put a 1 under it. All right, so for example practice 2, I want you to do the top numbers, 7, 8, and 9. I'm sure you've already heard this before, but why is 6 afraid of 7? Good luck on these problems. And here are the answers you should have gotten when simplifying. So for number 7, I cross-simplified 6 and 9 because you could divide them both by 3. So that's how I got 33/16. And then I saw that 16 goes into 33 twice with a remainder of 1 over 16. For number 8, I cross-simplified 12 and 12. The two 12s cancel each other out as 1s. So we had 13/5. So all we had to then figure out is how many times 5 goes into 13. 5 goes into 13 twice, with a remainder of 3 over 5. And finally, for number 9, 4 over 1 got us that. And then 5 and 3/7 is changed to 38/7. Then we had to figure out how many times 7 goes into 148. Excuse me, 148. 7 goes into 14 twice. Bring down the 8. 7 goes into 8 once, with a remainder of 1. So if you got all 3 of these right, give me a high five. Here is your box of thought. Go ahead and answer these 3 thoughtfully. And here is your quiz. You got 5 problems. Do your best to solve these and make sure they're all in simplest form. All right, now that you're done with the quiz, you're done with the lesson. Nice job. Way to hang in there. If you need extra practice, make sure you come see me. See you next time.